Hello, so last week's video I posted about introducing cats and how if you have one aggressor and one victim, yes, we need to focus on the aggressor to make sure he's not always chasing, but also we need to focus on the victim as well to make sure she's feeling confident and she's less likely to run and can hold her ground a little bit more and is just feeling happier. So I had lots of comments about, well, how do we do this? What do we do next? What's the plan? So that's what today's video is about. So I've broken this down into three things, but I'm sure they sort of crisscross over. But from what I can think is overall, we need to make sure that she's feeling safe. That is like the crux of the whole thing. So put yourself in her mindset. What is it that she's most worried about? And that's the area where we focus on. So the three things I've broken this down into is control. So let's start with control. So she will need to feel like she's in control of her life, her day, her well-being, everything. So if you're like doing these introductions at a time when she's not expecting, if she feels like she hasn't got the option to escape, she's not in control of her life, then she will feel more vulnerable and more reactive. So we want to make sure that she has a predictable environment. She knows what's coming and when. She has a set routine. So she's fed at the same time, you're home and around at the same sort of time, and she knows what's coming next in her day. And that generally it's quite a stress-free environment. So if she's worried about things here, there and everywhere, then she's not going to be in the right frame of mind to be meeting another cat that's going to chase her. And if that cat does chase her, she will be much more reactive to that. So I've said this before, where before you want to introduce cats, you want to make sure that individually they're both okay in themselves, because there's no point introducing them if they're stressed, if they're worried, if they're in a stressful environment, if they're poorly, if there's any of these external things happening, they're not going to be in the right frame of minds to meet another cat. And you might have done it and it might come fine, but lots of times it might happen where it's not gone fine. So that's where I would focus, like number one, is to make sure that she has these feelings of safety. She's got a steady, predictable environment. She knows what's happening day to day. And when she's not around the other cat, she's perfectly relaxed, she's comfortable, she's sociable, and she's happy. Secondly is to focus on the environmental setup. So this is really important and feeds back into that feeling of control. So you are now introducing a new cat to the household, so you need to make sure that the environment reflects that. So there should be plenty of resources to go around. So plenty of water bowls, litter trays, food, sleeping areas, and scratch posts and everything. But also it needs to be set up in a way where it helps the cats feel safe and like they have a sense of control. So for example, if you know there will be a chase, or there's likely to be a chase, you need lots of bolt holes, so places they can go and they can like dash under the bed or to the top of a cat tree, or there are safe places that you know they can take themselves off to. Also, we need to make sure that these aren't like places where they can be cornered. So there needs to be lots of escape routes. There needs to be lots of flow throughout your house, so that if there is a chase, then they aren't getting cornered. So it's like when cats are outside and they don't have a cat flap and they're getting chased and they run back home and they're like, let me in, but the door's shut and they can't get in. So then you'll see a standoff at the door where they're sort of cornered against the wall, like, I want to just be inside, but I can't get in. So we don't want that scenario happening inside our house. So think about places like on the top of the cat tree. Once they're up there, if the victim's been chased up the top of the cat tree, where does she go? She's probably just going to be up there swiping down with her claws while the other cat is swiping up with his claws. And that's obviously not ideal. So think about the environment from her point of view and like increase that flow. So at the top of the cat tree, you might need a little ledge that gets over to the windowsill, or place another piece of furniture nearby so she can hop down onto the sofa, and just gives you that flow. So she can run and he can chase her, but he's not going to corner her in any place. So you're not going to get that standoff. Hopefully it will give you the time to distract the other one. Once she knows these things are in place, that will help her with those feelings of control and safety within her house, because she knows, okay, I've got these places to hide if I need to. So it will build her confidence and help her feel like, well, I don't actually need to run there, but I'm glad that it's there. So if there's no places to hide, she's going to feel like insecure, exposed, and more likely to panic. It's also important that she has somewhere she can rest without him. So if you're only partway through the introduction process, then that's probably will be happening already, and that you're having to keep them separate, and she has areas where she can properly rest and switch off without worrying about that other cat coming to get her and attack her. So if your cats are already introduced, then, or like you're in the introduction process, then it can be helpful to have those rooms where one cat can go but the other can't. So if you're really dedicated, you can use an internal cat flap that's controlled by a microchip, so that that cat has a bedroom that's just for her. She can hang out in there, she's got all her things in there, and then she has the choice whether to come back into the rest of the home. Having that choice feeds back into that sense of control and safety, because she's the one that's thinking, you know, I actually can do it, so I'm going to go and risk seeing that other cat. Whereas if she's in the mood of like, you know, I don't want to do it, I just hunker down, she's got an option to do that. So she's not feeling forced to be with that cat at any other time. And lastly is the introductions themselves. So if you know that it's quite likely there will be a chase, then we don't just want to open the door and let that unfold and be like, come on, be confident and stand up for yourself. We need to gradually build up to a point where she's even tested with that. So make the introductions very, very low pressure, bring them right back a step and just let them meet through a barrier. Continue with that scent swapping, so their scents, like you're swapping the bedding around, so you're mingling the scents. And just build her confidence around the other cat where he's physically prevented from chasing. So it might be a barrier, it might be that you're keeping him distracted with treats or toys and you know that they're reliable enough that he won't just be like, whoa, forget the treats, I'm going to chase her. If you can't do that at this point, then you need to rein it in much, much further. But we need them to get to know each other in a really safe way so that she can learn to trust him and he can get over his urge to chase before we let them meet without a barrier, or before there's any risk of them meeting and that chase unfolding. So again, the more time she spends with him without anything going wrong, the more that confidence will come and the more she will start to trust him, and then we can move on to the next stage of the introduction process. So, which is a video for another day. So I think I've covered everything in terms of helping her feel more confident, but I think really it's just a case of putting yourself in her shoes and looking at the world from her point of view. Like, what does she need? Because it will depend on your environment, and it will depend on the cats and the other cats and animals and people that you have in the household. So it is a little bit individual, but put yourself in her shoes and what can you do to help her feel a little bit better, a little bit happier and a little bit more confident, and then go really, really, really slowly with the introductions. Well, I hope that was helpful. Do let me know if you have any more questions in the comments, and I will see you on the weekend for another video. Take care. Bye.